So my name is Sonia Chand Sandhu, and I'm with the Asian Development Bank's Independent Evaluation Department. And one of the important mandates that IED has as part of the Asian Development Bank, as part of the Asian Development Bank's evaluation policy, is to build evaluation capacity within governments, within our member countries, as well as ADB staff. So I lead that program at IED. Now, my background is in operations, and I have almost now about 30 years of development experience behind me between World Bank and the ADB. So, in my role, I kind of bridge the operations with the evaluations. We are a very small team, and the cohorts that we train are basically very project related, so we use a case method, and I kind of design the program around that so that it's very relatable to ADB staff as well as government officers, because all of ADB's projects are implemented in partnership with the government. So what does ADB do when we, as part of operations team, when we are finished with a project, when it reaches its financial conclusion sort of, we have to write project completion reports, and a very important aspect of the project completion report is the evaluation that the team does themselves and draws lessons and writes recommendations and also identifies issues that did not get resolved, or or any unintended effects that happened through a project cycle, which is pretty much around 6 to 7 years. And thereafter, those project completion reports, they come to IED for validation. So at the project level, we are mostly validating project completion reports, and that's why it's important to build the evaluation capacity of our teams. It's a very important role that we play in terms of the end result being incremental improvements in ADB's operations by learning through evaluations, by distilling lessons, taking IED's recommendations and driving them back into newer strategies, new programs, new policies. So we also do formative evaluations as part, and not only just summative evaluations. So, ongoing strategies of ADB, ongoing sector work of ADBs can be evaluated, and those recommendations then taken into account for newer formulation of newer policies or programs. From within our team, Twinkle, who's with me, she and I are part of the evaluation capacity development team, and the others are part of core evaluation teams of IED. So it's a very nice group that's come together here, and we are happy to get that opportunity. So with that context, why am I here? For me, it's like a train the trainer kind of universe. And I really needed to get a complete overarching umbrella overview of evaluation, how it links to monitoring. There were just so many gaps that get filled with this kind of training, and I must appreciate how well it's designed, because it's also catering to 117 people from 60 plus countries. So that's another learning for me. So what I'm picking up is not only just the content of evaluation, because I get these questions in workshops, right? It's like more grassroots than this. And we are not training people to become evaluators as such, but we are training people to understand what is working with their projects, what's not working, what can be done better, and evaluation is a very important tool to help that. Another aspect for me, which is really, which I came for also, and I think in these 3 days I've learned so much on how to facilitate and enable a large diverse audience coming from different places. Although our workshops are at a much smaller scale and very, very project, but we do look at governments across government officers who come from varying sectors, and we try to bring them together through one project case study, forcing them to think differently, but still they are very diverse. So if I'm like, sometimes we are in South Asia, across South Asian countries, even within the South Asian countries, there's diversity, right? And Mongolia, we were recently in Mongolia, that was a whole different universe. How they are able to translate the academic or even the technical language to a diverse audience. So that's the tools of enabling that discussion is also very good for me. I'm picking that up as well. And the third thing that's really helping me, if I can be candid with you, is almost like validation of the workshops that we conduct. That, when I'm talking about the usefulness of evaluation, and I'm listening to myself ask the question, like, don't forget the for whom question, and I heard the same being said here. For me, that was like huge validation, like, okay, I'm on the right track. So for example, evaluation approaches. There was there were so many different types of approaches that we heard from Professor Reinhardt, and that has really widened my perspective, because like I said, at IED we are focused on accountability, which is an evaluation language, control and legitimization aspect more. And we do want to bring in better improvements in design and operations of at EDB, but at the end our evaluation policy mandates us to be accountable, but the huge learning aspect, so we have accountability and learning. So the learning aspect, the manner that, was it objective, was it participatory, was it empowering the beneficiaries to speak. So it's an applied skill, and I think that's been very useful for me. Like, it's widened my horizons as to, look, evaluation is not just for accountability. There's one area of work, but using evaluation approaches in so many different ways can actually, feed back into a project's, the design of a project monitoring system. I think that's few of my takeaways, which I hope I can take back into my work as well. Oh, absolutely, and I think that's been a really important learning in our group. There are people from other IFIs, other donors who also from the government, also from civil society, and the very first day it was such a learning that everyone sees the elephant in a different way. But the elephant is still the elephant, right? Whether it's a project, it's a program, but there are so many perspectives. And when we take when we take a project or a program down to the beneficiary, we want certain improvements to happen. It's all for that target group of people and that was like really the very first day. I think that's something that got the whole group together. Hey, listen, let's look at why we're doing what we're doing. It's for the women and children in Tajikistan, or it's the health sector. And it was a very enriching discussion, because in the very first day, when the question posed was, what is the objective of what we're doing, of the evaluation, and it was like, somebody said project, somebody said sector, somebody said system, but eventually it's all for that target group, right? So for me it was, wow, you can take a look at so many different ways, and at the end you have like this multiple group where you're also building consensus, because and the point of building that consensus is arguing or debating a particular approach on why we are doing what we are doing and for whom. In 3 days, I've met people from Brazil, from Africa, from the US. I've also met people across gender, and it's just the comfort of talking and expressing views, and just through this language of evaluation, which I think is so universal, and that's why it's helping us do that. It's been an amazing connection. It's like a community, yes. And when we work in the development area, yes, we are then working as a community for a community. So it's been very pleasant, insightful, pleasant, and I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to join both from ADB, from my department, as well as IPDET for having me.